Hello guys, welcome back to virtual session, and today's session is a session on array of objects. Now, we understand the concept of a class. While defining a class, we need to wrap the properties and behaviors together. Attributes and behaviors together means the list of properties, variables we need to define the object, the constructor, the override to string method to print the copy of an object, and the methods to manipulate with the properties. And after that, we need to create an instance of a class, and that is called as an object. Like a normal means like a normal primitive type of data, if you can form an array of primitive type of data, if you can able to form an array of an integer, why not we can form an array of an objects. Array means set. If you have an item class for generating item bill, so if there is a one item involved, then only single object is there. But if you are purchasing n number of items, then you should go with the array of objects. While generating mark sheet of a student, if there is a one student involved, then a single object. But when you will be needing array of objects, when there is n number of students involved. And obviously we need to define an array, because the objectives cannot be performed for a single object. There may be many, and whenever there is a set, just like a set of integers, in the similar manner set of class, it means ultimately it's a array of an objects. Let us discuss this in today's session, how we can construct an array of objects and what kind of technical issues will be raised while dealing with the problems related to array of objects. I'm going to create a folder by the name of array of objects. Then I'll go to the command prompt, switch to the desktop, and array of objects, and load Visual Source Code. Now first program I'm going to try and go to generate how the array of objects can be initialized. The problem with this, that objects means it's a runtime entity, and while creating an object we need to, it's a matter of declarations, and we need to, if you want to create the object, obviously you need to give a call to the constructor. So the first challenge is how I can create the class, because it's a object is a user defined type of data. Then how to declare an array of objects and how to initialize them, and then the process. So let us discuss this. So for that reason, if I'm generating a class called as array1.java, and demo code for an array of objects. Okay, so I'll import java.language and import java.util. If you want to input some data, class, let us say demo array. Okay, but like you already your class name is array1, so you give me the class array1. So class array1, I'll be defining an integer variable over here, okay, as a property, and then I'll be defining a default constructor, and I'm more concerned about the parameterized constructor, where I'll get the value from the user and initialize the property of an object. This dot a equals to a, right? So in this manner, I'm going to initialize each and every object, okay, of an array1 class. Okay, and if you want to print it also, then why not you overload toString method, override toString method. You can simply this dot a, the value of a will be printed. Now here my class definition is over. Means I am having a class with a private property, integer a, default constructor, parameterized constructor, and it's a toString method. Now let us define main method. Now here I am defining an object inside the main method. You can write it in the another class as well, in the main class as well. Okay, so now one class with many objects. Okay, so first of all, let us say array1, array of array1 objects, arr equals to new array1. Okay, array1 of how many subscripts you are needing for that array. Let us say I'm going to go with a 10. I want to make a set of 10 array of objects of array1 type, right? So this is the declaration of an array. Okay, let's have a word wraps. Okay. Then now this is just declarations, but to initialize each and every array objects, obviously we need to set the loop. So okay, let's set the loop for that. So for integer I equals to 0, I less than, now you are array length, right? ARR is already having a total size of 10, so why not use the array length and I plus plus. Now what this loop will do, it will iterate from 0 to, because array subscript starts by 0, and till the array length it will less than array length. Obviously the last element in an array is available in the array dot length. So what you need to do now, because you need to initialize the data of an array element, so you prompt the user system.out.println, enter data for a of or array of for elements, enter data for subscript. Okay, let's say array of plus I. Okay, and then like this. So it will prompt you the okay, enter data for subscript a of I value is changing, a of 0, a of 1, and up till now, till that. So after that, you accept a number, integer number equals to, okay, you initialize the object of the scanner, scanner sc equals to new scanner system.n. Okay, scanner sc equals to new scanner system.n, integer number equal to sc dot next integer. It reads the number, and then this number you pass on as an arr of I equals to new. You create an object of it equal to new array1, and you pass on this number as an argument. Agrees? So this number will be passed on as an argument to the constructor, and a will get initialized by the number a equal to number, and then in this manner that arr 0 means initially if the I value is 0, that value get initialized. Likewise, I will be incrementing its value to the array length, and each and every array elements, okay, are going to initialize. Means now I'm having all the data of an array. So the entire array elements, array subscript get filled with the elements. Hope you agree with me. Now this is the code for inputting array elements. Now let's print the array list. What we can do now, again we prompt the message system.out.println array image for integer I equals to 0, I less than I plus system actual value of I. Now I'm going to arr of I consists this arr of I means this is the object. So whenever you are referring an object, so it will give a call to its toString method and print the copy of an object, right? So in this manner you are going to print the entire values of array of objects. Now you are not dealing with the array of primitive type. Otherwise it become a very simple problem, but you are dealing with the array of objects. So every object's value it will be print, and that's why we need a overrided toString method over here. So its properties will be converted into the string and able to print it over here. Hope it is clear up till now, right? So if you write these codes, you can able to create an array of object of 10 subscript. You can go with the n subscript. You can even ask the user how many array subscript you require, and you can form the dynamic array of that much size. I'm just like assuming the limit of an array is 10 now, and in this manner I can read the data as well as I can able to print the list. Let us execute this firstly. So this is end of, okay, this is extra here. So let us check it out. Okay, oh yeah, it is end of man, and so class, and then we got a constructor, and then the main. This is end of for loop. This is end of man. There is one other closing required. This is end of man. You need to end of define the age of class. Okay, and just test in the terminal. And now Java array1.java. Return this dot a. Oh, fine, yeah. Here, this dot a is an integer type of data, so you have to convert into the string. So you can go with a, okay, you can concat a string value so that it will be typecasted to string. Otherwise, you can dot string to string also can be used, but here in this case integer can be forcefully converted to string by adding a blank space in it. Okay, let us go for okay, let us test it again. Java array1.java. Now it's successfully compiled and you run it. It will say enter data for subscript of array 0. Okay, let us say 10, 20, enter it, 30. Now your array limit is 10, so you are going to enter the any 10 elements in it. 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. So now this is the array positions. Array elements are ARR 0 is 10 and all these things, right? So means successfully be able to create an array of objects. Okay, now array1 is a class which has got the private data of integer type, and then I'm using the constructors and toString method. Right? But one has to take care that array of objects and array of properties is different. While writing a class, you cannot go with the array of properties. You have to go with the array of, because just take an example of a human. Only one human class is there, and there is an array of human, right? Array of objects. So while constructing the class, you are not supposed to construct the array of properties. You are supposed to construct the array of objects. So class will be writing like this only, which is referring to one object. Okay, you have to construct the class definitions, and then you can go with array of objects, array1, array of objects. In this manner you can declare it, but declaring array doesn't mean it get initialized with the values. So you need to dynamically accept the values, you need to set the loop, accept the values, and then you can initialize each and every array subscripts, array of objects. Okay, objects can be initialized by giving the call to the constructor, that we know. Now here this is declarations, but the array elements are not initialized. So to initialize the array elements, every array subscript, now it's an array of an object, so every object will be initialized in this manner by giving call to the constructor of it, right? And then you can able to get it. Now rest, if you want to, let us say you want to like if someone asks you, I want to find out the total of this all array elements, right? I want to find out the total of this all the array elements. I want to find out the maximum from this all the array elements, minimum from this all the array elements, right? Now this the question is, from that array elements means, okay, just like if you have a 10 person and you want to find out the eldest and the youngest. So again, what you have to do, okay, why not you define a method over here. Okay, first of all, I want to find out the total of array elements. What I will do, I'll define a method, public integer get a, maybe, okay, and the return is dot a. So this method is going to return the property of that particular object. Again and again I am saying, we are dealing with the array of an object, so that every individual object, if there are 100% and you want to find out the eldest one, So you have to ask every individual person what is your age, and then means that logic has to be written in the main, not into the class definitions, right? So get a will return that particular value of the integer. Now here I am firstly dot man. Okay. Firstly, find total of all array elements, right? So I can do in this manner that I'll define a local variable as a total over here, and I will ask each and every objects to get their values and get added into the total. I can do that. Okay. So let's perform it this manner. One approach, int total equals to 0 for integer I equals to 0, I less than arr dot length I plus plus total plus equals to, okay, arr of I dot get a. Now this get a method is going to return the value of this each and every object, and that is going to add into the total, right? And then if you print at the end of the loop, that is total. Okay, let us test this. Variable structure. So you enter all the elements from the 10 to 100, total 10 elements are there. Summation of all the array elements is 550. So you can able to find out the entire summation of all the array elements. That is one approach. But as we studied that static, here it is one approach over here. You can go for the next. Let us say, as we know that static means all objects will share the common copy of it. All objects will share the common copy. So can I able to solve the problem of finding total of all array elements in a static way? Yes, you can. How you can do that? Let's go for it. I'll define a private static integer total. Okay. Now static means common in all objects. So I can able to cumulate the properties of all the objects into it. So whenever every object you are initializing, why not you add into the total? What it will do? Every object's properties are going to add into the total, and your total is a static type of data now. Okay, and to access the static data, you define the static method. Public static, okay, integer get total. What is going to return? The total, right? So static cannot be referred by the object references. So that's why I'm not writing this dot total. right? Because it's not in any individual property. It's a property belong to the class. It's a property belong to the family. It's a property of common in all objects. So whenever there is a common in all objects, one object cannot refer it, right? So you got me now. So to find out the total of all the objects, all the properties of all the objects, what I did, I defined a static total, and whenever the every object will be constructed, now static can be referred in non-static methods as well, right? So static property, whenever you are constructing the objects, we are going to add in the total also, right? So static can be referred by the class name or the object reference, but vice versa means non-static cannot be referred by the class references, right? So in this manner, while constructing the object, while initializing the property, their properties will be added into the static. So the entire object's property can be added, and then I wrote a static method. Now static method means a method can be referred by class name. So class name means it's a property belongs to, it's a method belongs to all objects, right? Okay. So now if I give a call like this, system.out.println total of all objects, like, and then as there is a static method get total, so and it is belong to the same class, you can call it by the like this array1 dot get total. That is one of the way. Or as you are referring in the same class, if there is no class reference required, that is also possible, right? You can directly give a call to the get total as well. Right now keep it as a class reference, right? And check it out whether you will get the total of all the array elements or not. Java array1.java enter the data. We'll get the total of all the objects, that is 550. Means you can find out the total in this manner also by defining, means like this is the better technique, because you will come to know the role of a static and how static methods can be defined and why static methods can be defined, right? Okay. Now let us go for the next approach, that how we can find out the greatest element from the all array elements, right? And the lowest as well. What I'm going to do in this case, as you know, the logic of greatest, finding the greatest one of them, int maximum equals to of 0 dot getting is the first subscript's value I am considering as a max, right? And I'll hold that subscript value somewhere so that like I can print the details of that value also. Here in this case, I need only the value, so I don't store the subscripts also. Okay, so let's set the loop again for integer I equals to 0, I less than arr dot I plus plus. I'm writing this in a math because you are comparing all the objects property to find out, to determine the greatest and the lowest. And object is a runtime entity, it's a main property, not to the class property, right? Okay, so now here in this case, if I say, obviously you are not the first elements data you are initializing to max, so you start the loop from 1, not by 0, because you already have a 0 element available. So the logic is, if from the 1 to array length, if any element is more than that initial value, you update the max. Okay, so if ARR of I, okay, dot get A is more than max, and max holds initially the 0 value, so 0th element's value, so ARR of I dot get A. Okay, so it will simply able to find out this logic. If at the end of a loop, if you print the max, you will get the maximum of all the arrays, right? So why not you update the logic for minimum? Minimum equals to ARR, the first element's value you consider as a minimum as value. Okay, and the loop is if ARR of I dot get A is less than now minimum, right? Then update the minimum. Minimum equals to ARR of I dot get A, right? And at the end of the loop, if you print the value, maximum value in an array, that is the value of the max, and you can even able to print minimum value, that is the value of minimum. If your object having various properties, then you can even hold the subscripts at which subscript position that maximum holds, and then you can print the object later on, right? So you can take a variable for the maximum subscript and minimum subscript, and that I value where that condition matches, you store in that, and then after that you can refer the object ARR of maximum subscript, ARR of minimum subscript, the entire details. If you have more properties than one, then you can able to print it. Here you have to just only print the integer, so the maximum value is so and so and minimum value is so and so. Okay, hope you're getting me right. So then let us go to the terminal and cross check it. Java array1.java now as we need to find out the maximum and minimum value, so instead of like entering data in the ascending manner, you can go with the random data. So here it is. Okay, total of all objects, that is 412. Maximum is 89. Okay, and the minimum value is 2. So this is the way how you can able to deal with an array of objects, right? What we need to do while dealing with the array of objects, we need to focus on one thing, that is the problem is related to the array of objects, and if the problem is related to the array of objects, we are not supposed to write the array of properties, right? Class will remain the same, right? And if you want to cumulate all the objects property, then you can go with the static data. Static means common in all, right? And then if you want to find out the maximum and minimum, but here these examples gives you the idea how one can deal with an array of an objects, right? So objects are the runtime entities, so it has to be formed and generated. So first of all, We have to declare, we have to initialize them by giving the call to the constructor, and then while manipulating with the if you want to accumulate all the properties, okay, then you can go to the static, and if you want to find out any individual property and derive the things, then you can go with the here you can define the methods for that. Okay, so that each and every objects, just take that example of while finding out the eldest and youngest person among all the persons, right? You're going to ask every individual what's your age, and then you can compare. So that logic has to be written in the manual. So in this manner, we can deal with an array of objects. So as I assigned the problems, like okay, you can form the array of cricket team. So now you have to construct the class called as cricket with the properties name and runs. Now the total score of and each and every individual batsman score. So you can get the object of a array of object of 10 players. You can set up the loop and initialize each and every individual's name and the score, and after that cumulate them in the static. So you'll get the total, and total divided by the match of the 50 overs, you will get the average in 50 overs. In this manner, you can construct the array of second team also. Now to find out who is the highest scorer, lowest scorer, and which teams wins. So which team wins in 50 overs, so which team scores more. So you have to compare the score to determine the team which wins. And to find out the eldest, okay, again you set the loop, and this logic you can apply. So array of objects columns can be, like let's say you have an item bill class where you got the item name, unit price, quantity, and the formulations for the finding of the price, discount, and net price. Then whenever you construct the array of objects, okay, so you can pass it on the data of item name, unit price, and quantity what you purchase. And if you purchase the n number of items, then you can find out by static data, you can find out the total of all the items you purchase. Right? So you can print the list of the all items, particulars of all the items, and you can find out the total of all items, total discount, and total net price as well. So that is again related to the static data. So static means common in all, and individual means every individual object. Non-static means every individual object having its own copy. The session, in today's sessions, we are dealing with the array of an objects. So the focus has to be how we can initialize, how we can declare, how we can access the properties of each and every individual objects, and then we can manipulate. Hope you understand these sessions well. Thank you very much. I am sharing this code in the comment sections.